Good morning to you from Amsterdam for the 42nd edition of this famous big city marathon, coming to you live from the city's famous Olympic Stadium. Well, the conditions here in Amsterdam this morning a little on the warm side, as they are across many countries in Europe, with temperatures around 14 degrees already here just before the start of the marathon. And as you can see, they're forecast to rise to around 20 degrees by 11:30 local time, which will be when the elite runners come back into the stadium. Well, Amsterdam is known in international marathon circles as having a very fast course. There's the course record set by Daniel Wanjiru in last year's race, 2:05:20. which places Amsterdam in the top 10 of the big city marathons. Very fast and flat here. And the fast course, I think, is a further reason why runners from all over the world are attracted here. 127 nationalities represented in today's race, 16,000 participants in the marathon. Well, we're going to take a moment now just to look at the course route for the marathon runners. It heads out past the famous Rijksmuseum and then heads south down towards the banks of the Amstel River, doing an out and back out to Oudekerk and coming back on the south bank before heading into the business district and past the old harbour area at 35k before heading back through Vondelpark into the Olympic Stadium. Well, another world-class field here in Amsterdam for today's race. A clutch of very strong African runners. And there's the fastest runner in the field. The 25-year-old Ethiopian Tesfaye Abere has a best time of 2 hours, 4 minutes and 24 seconds, which he recorded in Dubai just under 2 years ago. And since then, he's had one or two problems. He competed in the Olympic marathon last year in Rio, but failed to finish and could only manage 17th place in the London Marathon earlier this year. So Tesfaye Abere, one of today's race favourites, and he'll be looking to attack Wanjiru's course record. Wilson Chebet, a three-time former champion here in Amsterdam, won in 2011, 2012 and 2013. And sitting alongside me here in the commentary box is Rob Walker. Good morning to you. Great to have you here in Amsterdam. What are you looking forward to in today's race?
Yes, good morning, Richard. And first of all, thanks for having me as we look at the stats there for Caroline Rotich, who is the second fastest in the field on paper for the women's race. There were one or two rumours she may not be here, but she is. I'm just really delighted to be here. I mean, it's such a historic setting for athletics and distance running, Richard, to start and finish in the Olympic Stadium. We will, of course, be getting very excited about the women's race, but in terms of strength and depth, it's the men's race that's really, really appealing. We just saw Laban Korea going through shot there, and there's Amos Camuto. Camuto won Seoul this year in a new lifetime best, 2:05:54. One of the pacemakers there, 80. That's Albert Kangogo. 9:30 in the morning, it's pretty warm. And, you know, I wonder whether that could be a factor towards the end of the race. But Abere the favourite. And Zane Robertson, I love optimism and I love confidence. He wants Rod Dixon's national record, which for the statisticians among you is 2:08:53. He wants 2:07. Is that a bit ambitious for his first marathon?
There's Abdi Nagea, Holland's top athlete. He ran his personal best in Rotterdam earlier this year, 2:09:34. The first time going under 2 hours and 10 minutes. Finished 11th in Rio in the Olympic marathon last year.
It's a great field in this men's race, Richard. It's that classic mix of youth and experience.
It is, and we've got six runners who have run under 2 hours and 6 minutes. Remember the course record, 2:05:20. So the race organisers have set up rabbits to take the leaders through halfway on course record tempo, which will be going through the halfway point in around 62 minutes and 40 seconds if they're going to have any serious attempt on Amsterdam's course record. Quite unusual in many ways for a big city marathon to start inside a stadium. Many of the famous big city marathons around the world, London, Berlin, New York, Boston, starting out on the streets, but Amsterdam actually chooses to start the race from inside the famous Olympic Stadium. Well, you can see those pacemakers at the front wearing 80 and 81 and 98. Those are the three Kenyan athletes who've been designated to set the pace for the leading athletes in the men's race. And we've also got pacemakers who will be doing a similar job in the women's race, and we'll be following the women's race. There's the top Ethiopian, Tadalech Bekele, F3, and we'll be keeping an eye on both the men's and the women's races over the next couple of hours. And right now, the runners and spectators are being reminded of the contribution to this race from one of the great mayors of Amsterdam, Eberhard van der Laan, who was mayor here in the city of Amsterdam for 7 years until his death just 10 days ago after a very long fight with lung cancer. Eberhard was a massive fan of this race, and so the runners as well as the spectators here giving their applause and showing their affection for one of the city's most popular mayors, Eberhard van der Laan.
Every year, the eyes of the distance running world descend on the very best, who are here to try and win what is, without doubt, one of the world's most prestigious marathons. Pacemakers doing a good job. 80 is, I mentioned him just before the start, just on the left there, Albert Kangogo, 59.25 in Copenhagen. And Sami Kitwara, 81. Kitwara, by the way, is a 2:04.28 marathon runner. He paced Boston and Berlin this year. As we look at F3, that's Caroline Rotich, and just behind her is Tadalech Bekele, and there is Bekele, 2:22.23. She's a class athlete, Richard. Twice fourth in Berlin, 5 half marathons under 70 minutes. You know, she's 26. You can argue she's coming towards the peak of her career.
Yes, it's another youth against experience contest in the women's race. Caroline Rotich has run so many marathons over the last 11 years. She debuted in 2006, whereas, as you say, Rob, Tadalech Bekele has really only been competing at top level for the last 5 years. There's Abdi Nagea. Well, we've seen Abdi here in Amsterdam a few times. 2 years ago, he ran his Olympic qualifying when he ran 2 hours, 10 minutes and 24 seconds. Since then, he's lowered his best time to under 2 hours and 10 minutes in Rotterdam earlier this year. And as we mentioned earlier, he's got an eye on the Dutch national record of 2 hours, 8 minutes and 21 seconds. Interestingly, Rob, Abdi trains with Eliud Kipchoge in Kapsabet, although Somali by birth, is now based in Kenya. Tesfaye Abada, the fastest Ethiopian in the field and definitely one of the favourites. And we did hear from Gitani Tessema, his coach, that Gitani really does believe that Tesfaye is over some of the problems that have affected his performances earlier this year. There's another young Ethiopian, Mule Wasihun, also in Gitani Tessema's training group, just 23 years of age, but another of the athletes who's gone under 2 hours and 6 minutes and was second in Dubai earlier this year.
And Bekele just ahead there of Caroline Rotich. And it's a beautiful morning, Richard, isn't it? Absolutely stunning, but it is hot.
It is hot, and the runners have just reached the famous Rijksmuseum at around the 4-kilometre point. This is one of the few parts of the course where they'll be in the shade, because the course actually goes underneath. And meanwhile, back in the stadium, some of the 16,000 marathon participants are just leaving the stadium at the start of their 42-kilometre journey.
It's amazing, isn't it, Richard, when you have so many people taking part, and it is wonderful that everyone has the opportunity to start in the Olympic Stadium, a real moment of history. Even if you're going to run 4.5 hours, you can appreciate the setting and the context every bit as much as the guys who have almost run 3 miles, whilst the best of the rest are still going across the start line. But yeah, just another unique feature and another reason why this race continues to flourish well into its 4th decade of existence.
So a very large leading group of around 20 athletes. That's the second group, with Abdi Nagaya and Zane Robertson have got some pretty reliable pacemakers in the likes of Michel Butter and Khalid Chugud, who have both competed here in Amsterdam.
So what was that, 29.54 for the 10? So it's still, it's around about 2:06. So it's a fraction outside their predicted pace. But yeah, these guys are genuinely world class, these pacemakers. Kitwara is a 2:04.28 man. Well, he's in the world's top 20. So, you know, it's good going for these guys, and I'm sure they might pick up the pace between now and halfway. And as you indicated, Richard, that gap was around about, what, 30-35 seconds back to Robertson. Sensible running by the guys in that second group. 19 as well is Abdi Nagay, still there, still trying to make sure he puts himself in pole position for that Dutch national record of 2:08.21.
So there, the passport of Wilson Chebet, a 3-time winner here in Amsterdam, trying to emulate the great Dutch marathon runner Gerhard Nijboer, who has won 4 Amsterdam marathons in the 1980s. 3 other athletes have run in Amsterdam twice. Can Wilson Chebet win a 4th Amsterdam title, which would equal the great Gerhard Nijboer?
The city is shining its finest colours in this beautiful early autumn Sunday morning.
Amos Camuto, another of the favourites, very interesting athlete, has run 3 marathons with 2 victories already under his belt. One from Seoul earlier this year, where he ran his best time, and his other victory coming in Rome 18 months ago.
Now at the 15k marker, they were on course to once again continue that trend of sub 2:06 winning times.
Well, there's a great scene of the flyboarders out on the Amstel River. We see regularly here, and a very special feature of Amsterdam, this great river which is used for many big rowing competitions. But on the day of the marathon, the flyboarders, as they're called, love to come out and give encouragement to the runners.
That is crazy.
Quite interesting, the competition between Holland's big 3 marathons, Rotterdam, Amsterdam and Eindhoven. I think if we were to look back over the last 20 years, we'd probably say that Rotterdam is the fastest of those 3. But actually, if you just look over the last couple of years, you would say that Amsterdam, in many ways, has taken over as Holland's fastest marathon. So a lot of competition between the 3 cities as to who's going to come out on top. No doubt why the organisers today will be hoping for a fast time so that they can stay on top of the marathon tree in Holland. Well, there we're getting a glimpse of the turnaround at Ouderkerk. If you're a local, you will know the historical significance of this very old village called Old Church, or Ouderkerk in Dutch. And this is where the runners will cross the bridge and head down to the south bank of the river and then turn and head north back towards the halfway point. So just short of 20 kilometres at the turnaround point. If they are feeling any of the breeze this morning, then it should be on their backs as they head north, because it's a slight southerly breeze. And it will be interesting to see their halfway split in a few minutes' time. There's the second group. They've just crossed over the bridge back onto the south bank, and we're back now with the leaders. Number 6, Laban Correa, who's got plenty of experience of Amsterdam, having run here last year and also 6 years ago in 2011. There's the 20k point, just under the hour. So they're still operating at 2:06 pace, I think, just outside course record pace, but in some ways that's what we expected, that they would run a slightly slower first half because of that southerly breeze. Here we are at halfway, and yes, as we thought, they're a little bit slower than the course record pace, going through halfway in just outside 63 minutes. But in many ways, as we've been saying, that might set them up for a very fast finish.
Great platform from which to produce a brilliant time in the second half of the race. And also, as we just see that second group going through there in a shade over 64 minutes, low 2:08s for Zane Robertson and everybody else in this group, which is significant for Robertson's quest for a national record and could also be significant for Negay's bid to secure a national record for the Netherlands. Great pacing by that second group.
Still a relatively large group of around 15, 16 athletes. Got about four or five Ethiopians in that group, and around 10 or 11 Kenyans running behind the two pacemakers still in the race. Kitwara 81 and Edwin Courage 98, and we're back now to the second group. Still a nice group to be part of, as we've seen Zane Robertson for the entire race up to this point, just trying to position himself right in the middle of that group, running just behind or off the shoulder of the athletes around him. Abdi Negaya, number 19, I was speaking to him yesterday and he was saying a personal best will be a big step forward. Well, he's certainly within reach of that, going off his halfway split of 64.10. They were taken through halfway. Question now is whether he can keep going.
Now 13, so that's Jackson Kip Rock, just finding himself at the back of that group. He's a fine runner, Kip Rock. Twice 10th in the world cross. You don't finish in the top 10 of the world cross country if you're not a world-class athlete. He was 7th in the world half a few years ago. Now, does this indicate he had a problem? Ah, he fell over. Wow. Well, thankfully, that's the reason why the Ugandan was off the back. We were thinking perhaps he was beginning to struggle with the pace. Not so. And I think he's been really sensible there, Richard, because all the coaches said if you fall over in a race, don't sprint to get back. Work your way back gradually. And he looks, from what we can see here, he looks as though he's okay, but that must have been a shock to his body.
Well, that's the chasing group, and we can see that Negea is starting to struggle, just falling a few metres off the chasing group. It was a group of around 7 athletes. Zane Robertson still with the group, at the back of that group, and Negea, well, having to work quite hard to stay with them. One of the names that we're looking at now, number 9 in the orange vest, Lawrence Chirono, has uncharacteristically high arm carriage, you can see, for a marathon runner. But he's got a best time of 2 hours, 6 minutes and 21 seconds set in Rotterdam earlier this year, where he finished second. That was a 5-minute personal best for him. And we will expect that group of 18 athletes to be whittled down over the final third of this race.
I wonder if Big Robertson is running into problems here. It's been a case of so far so good. Sensible pacing. This is the New Zealander who said he wanted to break Rod Dixon's New Zealand national record of high 208s, but really wanted 207. He's definitely encountering a problem here, and it's happened very quickly.
Look how that leading group has stretched out. That leading group, in the matter of minutes, is now down to 10 athletes.
Yes, and we have lost Jackson Kip Rock. There he is in the foreground with Luka Rotich just up ahead of him. So the first 2 casualties are the Ugandan Kip Rock. So here at the 29k mark, one by one, they are beginning to drop off that lead group. It's still around about, well, 206, there or thereabouts, but we can expect some fireworks in this last 6 and a bit miles, Richard. That's for certain.
Negea certainly looks as though he has rejoined that group. It's quite interesting. Every now and then it looks as though he's dropping either to the back or off the back of that group, but right now he's very much part of that group as they go through 30 kilometres.
He is, he's going well. So 1:31, he's there or thereabouts. He's not a million miles away from this national record.
We've got a few inexperienced athletes in the mix with some of the more experienced ones. We've got a number of the race favourites in that leading group, including Tesfaye Abada, Mule Wasahun, Stephen Chibagut, Laban Correa and Amos Camuto. So many of the athletes who we were expected to feature in the latter stages of the race, and of course the 3-time champion Wilson Chebet in that very distinctive rolling action, still in that group, being led by the orange-vested Lawrence Chirono.
Yeah, the leading group are definitely getting whittled down. It was 11 at one stage. Now that's significant. Chebet's gone off the back, Richard. Wilson Chebet, number 3, Mr. Amsterdam. He has gone off the back, and so too, well, we'd already seen Aparumoy go, and the wheels are coming off here for Chebet in a not too dissimilar manner than you predicted from the last couple of years.
Yeah, and again today we've seen him struggle over the last quarter of the distance, and that looks to be the case again today.
Yeah, and another casualty of this incessant pace from Lawrence Chirono is Laban Correa, and one by one they are being dropped. So we had 11, now 8 remain.
We're now back to Abdi Negea's group. Abdi Negea still looking very comfortable. The race really opening up now in the final 9-10 kilometres. Stephen Chibagut, another of the very fast athletes, starting to drop back.
So he's off the back, and Abera has also allowed a gap to grow. The fastest man in the field by over a minute, the man wearing number 2, the huge, tall Ethiopian, he too has drifted off the back of this lead group, and he's going to have to work very, very hard to rejoin what is now a leading quintet. Only 5 still in the mix.
Kip Rock has looked very impressive. There he is, right in the middle of that leading group of 3 as they come past what's known as Margaretbrücke, Skinny Bridge, one of the famous sites of Amsterdam. Still 5 athletes together with 5 kilometres to run. This is where the racing is really going to start. But look how smooth Kip Rock looks.
And who wants it the most? The mental strength really comes into play at this stage of a marathon. It's such a brutal distance to run. No matter how slow or how fast you are, all 5 of these men will be really hurting at the moment. And the subplot here, as far as the Dutch are concerned, can Abdi Nagay keep this going? Will it be a personal best? We hope so. Could it be a new national record? Well, maybe, but he's going to have to produce a huge last 5K if he is to get into the Dutch record books.
They're just a kilometre or so from the gates of Vondel Park, and then they'll have a couple of kilometres through the park before the stadium comes into sight. Oh, it looks like it's Wasserhoen, the Ethiopian, who's the first to drop off. And the other surprise there is Amos Camuto, now having to work very hard to stay with that leading group of 3, being led by Norbert Keegan.
Wow.
Nagay still on target for a personal best, certainly, and possibly even an attempt at Camille Maas's Dutch record.
So all of a sudden, only 3 remain, Richard. It's so hard to pick a winner from here.
Well, what a battle this is turning out to be, because they go through 40 kilometres, so just over 2 kilometres to run. Well, this is interesting because now Norbert Keegan has overtaken Kiptum, and now I wonder if that effort by Kiptum to keep up with his 2 compatriots, maybe that was his last serious effort.
Look at this. Keegan's coming back alongside Lawrence Chirono. He really wants this.
And we're into the last kilometre of the race with about 700 kilometres to run. The stadium very much in sight. Keegan back in the front, but hasn't yet dropped Chirono. So it's the 2 Kenyan athletes running side by side. The 3rd place, Abraham Kiptum, trying to hang on to that 3rd place. In 4th, the Ethiopian Mule Wasserhoen, just overtaken Amos Camuto. But what a battle at the front. We haven't seen this in Amsterdam for a long time. There's the stadium. They can see the stadium 500 metres away from the finish line, and Chirono now back in the lead. Chirono and Norbert Keegan running side by side. Who's got the finishing speed?
What a race. 26 miles of drama, and we still don't know who's going to win. It should be a brilliant 3rd place finish for Abraham Kiptum, but this is about the win. This is about who wants it the most.
Who's got track speed? Because there's the entrance to the stadium. They'll have about 200, just over 200 metres of running on the tartan as they come into the stadium, and they're still locked together.
A truly magnificent sight, this stadium. Olympic history has been made here so many years ago, and history here in Amsterdam is about to be written again. It's going to be very, very close to the course record. It's still Lawrence Chirono with Norbert Keegan just behind him. He was the first to go to the front when the pacemakers dropped out, and he's going to do it here. What a magnificent run. Let's watch the clock. I think it's going to be a course record. Pterano, with the performance of his life, wins the 42nd edition of the Amsterdam Marathon. A brilliant run by him and a brilliant performance from Norbert Kigen, a PB and also inside the pre-existing course record. And what a run from the unheralded Abraham Kiptum, completing the podium, 2:05.25 unofficially, a gigantic personal best for the Kenyan. That's the 1-2-3 with Mule Wasihun coming across the line. A brilliant run from him, 2:05.38. And then a very tired-looking Amos Camuto, who is at least rewarded with a personal best, coming across the line in 5th. 5 men, Richard, inside 2:06, once again underlining Amsterdam's status as one of the finest marathons in the world. What a race, what drama, what a fantastic day here in Holland.
And we're looking now at Abdi Nagea. Are we going to see another record being set here in Amsterdam? Remember, Nagea chasing the Dutch marathon record of 2 hours, 8 minutes and 21 seconds set by Camille Massa here in Amsterdam. Is Nagea going to set a new national marathon record? Nagea turning towards the stadium entrance.
And the PA announcers in the stadium are doing a fantastic job. They're telling the crowd that that is the time to beat. It's a national record that has stood for a decade. This is the man who came to Holland with his family at the age of 4, embraced by a new nation, and he has returned the country's gratitude by magnificent performance. If he misses this, it's going to be by an absolute whisker. He's got to find it here. He's sprinting for his life here. It's by far the best performance of his career, and now he can see the finish. Come on. It's already a great run. Is it a moment of history for Dutch distance running? I think he's going to do it. It's close, but Abdi Nagea is going to set a new Dutch national record. A brilliant performance. He had to work so hard for that in the last few hundred meters. Perfect pacing throughout the entire race, and he's done it. He's the new national record holder.
He's the new national champion of Holland. He's the new national marathon champion, and he's smashed his best time for the marathon. He's taken 1 minute and 20 seconds off his best time, and the applause, Rob, for Nagea as he entered the stadium here was quite amazing. I remember just 2 years ago when he came here and ran a best time which was more than 2 minutes slower than he's recorded today. But today, he has, I think he's just gone beyond his own expectations. Well, we've seen some great performances, and the greatest of them all by the new winner, the new champion here in Amsterdam, Pterano.
Okay, congratulations, fantastic race. How are you feeling?
I'm good, I'm happy, because I won this race. I was not expecting to win.
Yes, it was in a great time, course record, personal record. Tell me about the last kilometer. What did you feel?
Actually, the race was somehow tough, because we were almost all of us until 35 kilometers. Then I tried to push for like a little while. Then all of a sudden I saw that we are still there, all of us. I started to go back, to stay behind, to regain energy again. After 40K, we pushed. Then it was a lot of pressure anyway. Actually, it was very tough.
Okay. What did you think about the circumstances? Was it not too hot and too humid?
The humidity was very high, yes. But the first course, the first half, it was a tough time for us because the wind was coming towards us.
You must be happy to walk in Holland because you were second in Rotterdam and now first in Amsterdam. Do you like it here?
Yeah, I like in Netherlands actually, because it has improved my time. Then it is the kind that I like to be.
Okay, it's your third marathon you are winning. How come you are in that shape?
It depends on my training. I actually train very hard since May up to this far. Yeah, so it took me a lot of time. I took my time to prepare for this race.
There's the top 10.
Laurens Chirono is the champion. Personal best, new course record. Norbert Kigen, a massive PB for him. Abraham Kiptum third. He smashed his lifetime best. And Mulle Wassihun also coming home inside 2:06. What a race.
2:08.16, so a new personal best and the new Dutch record for Negea.
What a race from the 26-year-old Ethiopian. This is a young woman reaching the peak of her powers. Twice fourth in Berlin, third in Prague, second in Toronto. Never before has she finished on top, and she's doing so in fine style here in Amsterdam. And she's going to break her personal best as well. This has been another step up in class for a woman who is finding her very best form here just when it counts. Now she can see the finish, and for the first time in her life, she's going to run inside 2:22. This is an absolutely brilliant run. What a performance. Finally, in her 10th marathon, she wins in a big new lifetime best. She came here as the favourite, and she has delivered in style.
So what a day it's been here in Amsterdam. A new champion in the men's race, Laurens Chirono, and a new course record, a new Dutch marathon record from Abdi Negea, and a new champion in the women's race in the form of Tadej Bekele. Well, thanks for being with us today in Amsterdam. It's been a great day and we've really enjoyed our coverage. We hope that you'll be with us next year for another Amsterdam Marathon.